After the war, the British piano makers, and we must always remember they were the first of the piano makers, decided to produce instruments for people that they could take into their new style of homes, and where people were living in larger homes or cottages in the countryside. Suddenly a lot of people were moving into apartment settings. So some of the British makers dedicated themselves, like Bentley, Knight, Challen, a number of other lovely makers, to making beautiful sounding pianos that weren't the size of the earlier instruments. So people could fit them in quite comfortably into their new settings, still have their piano and their music. And those instruments have become institutions. And it was about that time too that makers such as Challen here devoted themselves to making an instrument for people who were used to having a grand piano that would now fit into a modern, smaller setting. So they developed what we now call loosely the baby grand. And baby grand is a term that makes some people worry. That's only the reputation that they've gained from the little mini grands that have come from other parts in recent years. They look lovely, they'll decorate a corner somewhere nicely, but somehow they're disappointing. The short strings and the frame configuration, it should work, but it doesn't. And people in those instances are better off getting an upright piano of some renown. But here's an exception. This is a post-war Challen, one of the great makers, made makers by appointment to the royal family of pianos, so they always had to be pretty good to get that label. And this is their classic baby grand from that time. This instrument we've taken a lot of pleasure and pride in restoring now, and we got the biggest surprise when we sat and played it after tuning it and whatever, and doing the last adjustments. Just what a beautiful little piano it is. I had faith in this instrument that it would be, you know, cut above most baby grands. But this instrument is almost like a salon grand to play. Challen got it right with this piano, and as a result they made many of them, and they're still very well represented here in Australia. Totally standard instrument in every way, but scaled down with most beautiful soundboard. So we get a very small, compact, pretty little grand piano that's not just a pretty face, it's a lovely instrument. And I've had a couple of good pianists come through since this instrument was finished, friends, just to pop in, and played it, and just been thrilled with the sound of it. So let me just let you hear across the range how beautifully this projects and how warm and lovely the tone is. It's just a pleasure. And on it rings. The sustain is just quite beautiful. And that's one of the real telling points when you're comparing pianos from this era to modern pianos. This instrument has a spruce soundboard, hand-fashioned, just like violin makers did to get the most beautiful tone from their instruments. And this Challen, which is neat and lovely, lovely modern style cabinet, beautiful fittings and brass, everything about it's lovely. There it is, ready to grace someone's home. Someone who wants a grand piano, hasn't got room for a great big one, but also somewhere to pretty up a lovely corner too. But then whoever comes to your home to say, oh, a little grand, can I play it? We'll get that lovely, same refreshing surprise that we've had.